Welcome back. 2017 Nissan Armada, sagging rear end. This has air suspension, pretty common issue in this. I'm going to kind of walk through what I've already done because I have a part here for it, and I don't know if it's the only part I need, but I know it's bad. So I initially scanned the car and had three codes, C1801, 1803, and 1805 in the air suspension. Saved that report off, cleared the codes, restarted the car. The 1803 and 1805 didn't come back. The 1801 immediately came back. The 1801 is the ride height sensor. So I wanted to check to see, well, does the compressor even work? Fortunately, my scan tool, I have an Autel, can bidirectionally control. So I was able to, through the scanner, to actually control the compressor and fill the suspension up and lift the suspension in the back. So I know the compressor works. I know the relay is talking to it. I believe at least the part of the module that talks to the compressor is talking to the compressor, and it's not bad. So I had to then go to the ride height sensor and do some tests on it. I'm going to show you where that is under the car, and then I'm going to pull it out. I did it with it on the car because I didn't want to pull it out unless I knew it was bad. And then we'll test. There's some, in the service data, there's some specifications of ohm readings of what it should be, and you want to check power and ground to it. To make sure from the module you have power and ground to it. So let me get this up on ramps, and we'll get underneath. I'll show you where it is. I'll show you some of the tests we did, and we'll go through, and I'll show you what I found. Well, we're under the car, kind of looking across the back axle towards the driver's side. Here's your sensor right here that I'm going to pull out. You can test it on the car, but I'm just going to pull it out. It's only a couple bolts. It's not hard to get out of here. We're going to take that out, but first, and then we're going to do some tests on it, but first we want to test its connection, the connector to right past that up in here. Let's see if I can show it to you. Right there is a connector that hooks it to the module, the air suspension module. We're going to test for power and ground there. We should have 5 volts on the ground there. I'm just going to do it with a power probe, but you can do it with a test light, or, you know, test light's fine. We're just going to disconnect that. Nothing is on right now. I'm going to disconnect that, then I'm going to go turn the ignition on, not running. I don't want it to run, I just want the ignition on, engine off, and then we can test that power. Okay, I've got that connector disconnected, and like I said, engine on, not engine on, ignition on, engine off. You don't want this running. So I've got a couple of really fine probes. Do not spread your terminals, be careful. I just want to see, do I have ground? I have ground there. I have power there, sorry. Come on. There you go, ground. And 5 volts on this side. Get a connection there. There you go. I don't know if you can see that, but I can see it on the power probe. So I've got 5 volts and I've got a good ground, so we have power and ground to it. Just be careful doing that. Don't jam it in there and spread your terminals on it. So let me undo this sensor that's right here. It's just a couple 10mm bolts. I'm going to take that out, and we'll get out on the bench where I can show you better and we can test it. So hopefully you can see that, but that's the chart. You absolutely have to have service data to do this. There's procedures you have to run through to reinitialize it, but you need the specs, and there are the specs. I'm going to go through and test this outside the car. You test it in 2 different positions. You see the dotted line here because the arm on it moves. The arm on this will move up and down. That's A position when it's kind of lined up between the 2 bolts, and then B positions on an angle like that. So you have 3 pins. Tab on the connector is up. Pin is the red wire, would be on your left. That's pin 1. Obviously pin 2 is in the middle. Pin 3 is over this side. And I'm going to test these, test them with the specs, and then I'll come back. It's kind of hard to show it to you. But you just have to, there's pins in there you have to test with an ohm meter. So there's my findings. In position A, based on the service data, 1 to 2 was 150 to 160, and it was moving around. I couldn't get it to be steady. It should be 1.9 to 3.0 kilo ohms, so that failed. 1 to 3 should always be in the range of 1.6 to 2.4 kilo ohms. It was 0.4 kilo ohms. That failed. Position this 2 to 3 passed. Position B, 1 to 2 was 121 ohms. And it should be 320 to 680 ohms. That failed. And position 2 to 3, or 2 to 3 in position B, should be 1.9 to kilo ohms. That was 2.28 kilo ohms, so that passed. But 1, 2, 3 out of 5 failed. So I'm going to do the same test on the brand new sensor and then write those down and show you what that is as well. So hopefully you can see that. Here's the new sensor. Position A, 1 to 2, pins 1 to 2 is 2.3 kilo ohms. That passed. Pins 2 to 3 in position A, 453 ohms. That passed. Position B, 1 to 2 pins is 450 ohms. That passed. Pins 2 to 3 in position B, 2.3 kilo ohms. That passed. And 1.1 pins 1 to 3 should always stay the same regardless of where the arm is. 1.85 kilo ohms. That passed. Everything passed. So 3 out of 5 failed on the original sensor. All of them passed on the new sensor. We definitely needed a new sensor. Is that the only thing? I don't know yet. I really can't tell. I had to fix that first, but I know the compressor works. I know I could talk to the compressor, so very possibly that's all it is. I go put that back in, hook it back up. After you do this, you have to run through a specific procedure. I will do that. I will show it to you and do that after we get this hooked up. I've got the sensor reinstalled. This is going to be tough for you to see, I think, but I've got the service manual. You need a service manual and you need a scanner that can control and do what the factory one does. And there's a whole procedure here. I'm just kind of showing you a little bit of it that you have to run through to adjust this after you change out that height sensor. So I'm going to run through that. You can find this online. You can find this the service manual for this online, but you do have to run through this and with a scanner. I had the Autel, which should do this because I recognize all these things from looking at it earlier. And we're going to run through this. I'm going to clear the codes first. We're going to run through this and reset the initial height on it, and then we'll go from there and see if there's any other issues. Well, that's hopefully it for the 2017 Nissan Armada with a C1801 code, which turned out to be the ride height sensor. You can find the specs online. You can look and find the service manual to get the values and to run through it's kind of hard for me to show you all that. It's not really complicated, but it is multiple steps, probably a page and a half to 2 pages you have to do. I took it out for a drive, looking at live data, and the old sensor, the voltage signal to the module never changed, never moved. Took this one out. It's changing like it should as the car's going down the road and moving, that arm's moving on the sensor. I can see the voltage that's being sent to the module change. So that's a good thing. And it's showing me, and I can see the conversion value, and that correlates to a height value, up or down. So that was moving as well, which is good. Brought it back, left it running as set, and after about a minute, I hear the compressor kick on. And I'm looking at the live data, and it was a little bit low. Then because it was actually sitting a little crooked, a little low in the back end, meaning the land where it was sitting, the back was a little lower. Compressor kicked on, and it brought it back to ride height. Would never do that before. Wouldn't kick the compressor on for anything. So that's good. I don't know that I checked codes again. No current codes. Got past codes. I expected them, but no current codes for the air suspension. Compressor runs. It's being controlled by the module, obviously, because it came on after sitting there for about a minute. Brought the car back up. Was down just a little bit, and it looks good right now. So we're going to give it back to the customer and let them know. If there's something else we got to look into, we'll look into it. But right now, it looks like it was only the sensor that was the problem, which is good because you're talking not an inexpensive part of the car if you have to fix the rear air suspension. If you got to replace multiple things, it's not particularly cheap. But if you need to do this for your Nissan Armada, what I found was the values on the 17. I don't know above the 17, but probably as well. When you're looking at the ohm resistance readings, I was looking at a 12, I think a 12 or a 13, the readings for that, or the specs for that versus the 17, and they're the same. So I don't know that it changes at all as you go through the years. So that's good. But if you need to do this for your Nissan Armada. I hope it helps you out. If you like the videos, click the like and subscribe below. Thanks for watching.